Welcome back to class, everybody. It feels like it's been a long time since our last episode.
Right. This has been a very long week for me, specifically.
Yeah, I felt like during the work week it was pretty quick, and then for some reason now it seems like time has, has slowed down.
Maybe we are evolving as professors, as human beings, and perceiving time in a, more slowed fashion. Maybe we are becoming. I think
it's weeks when I've watched a lot of anime. I feel like I can look back and be like, yeah, I watched 50 episodes. Like,
yeah, right.
I did accomplish something, whether it be important or not. That's a different story.
I accomplished a thing.
Oh shit!
I accomplished a thing.
I think the other thing is I had a lot of my longtime friends. We connected this week. So
that's right. That's cool.
Like people you don't talk to very often, but they're like you
don't skip a beat right when you come back and hang out. Those are good friends to hold on to.
But I talked to a bunch of them this week, so I guess maybe it feels like all that time that we've been away or whatever.
And finally kind of a call came crashing in. You seem to have, what I achieved this week is destroy my bowels. And I say that because I had a chicken sandwich wars from 5 different fast food places to finally get to the heart of who has the best chicken sandwich. And honestly, KFC in that heat took it hard.
What?
Buying away the best of the 5 we did. And
what the?
I know.
This is a lie. This is public shaming.
No, you know what? Chick-fil-A had a really bad showing, man. Really bad showing that day.
So that's the thing. You could just have a really bad, entry into their lineup on the specific day, and then it's you're fucked.
Consistency is important. Consistency.
Well, they are extremely consistent. It just might have been one time that it was just so happened to be the time you're doing a chicken sandwich freaking
right
eat off.
Exactly. Well, that's on them. If they're not going to bring their A game every day,
right?
It's not my pleasure. It's a disservice to me, to America, to the world.
It's still their pleasure, though.
They still have my money.
I mean,
that's fine.
I'd pay them.
So it is their pleasure. Their wallets are lined with my money, and they showed up C- material. Yeah. Not great.
But I'll tell you what, it's been super freaking hot recently.
Yes.
And I don't know, because a lot of people say there's a lot of global warming and stuff going on, but it hasn't felt as hot as in past years.
Sure.
But squelchingly hot for 90 degrees.
It is, again, summer in full swing. And we said a couple episodes ago that we would have sad boy summer energy. The show we're talking about today,
it certainly lives up to the name.
Certainly lived up to sad boy summer energy. And that is not to say it's not a good show. It's anything. It's fantastic. It's great. It's full of depth. And there's a lot to unpack in this show. Ethan, what are we talking about today?
We watched from this season, the 86.
Yes, and A1
also,
Pictures.
Numerals and in words.
Yeah, 86. But it's called 86 by A1 Pictures, known for Sword Art Online, Fairy Tail, help me out, 7 Deadly Sins, I think they got under their belt. So, some big name stuff. And this show, it's a thinker, man. It's definitely not a popcorny kind of thing.
Yeah, so it's kind of a weird show where it's extremely reductive. There's nothing particularly new.
It feels
even the style doesn't feel super new. I would say any of the action scenes with their little Gundam things.
Exactly.
Feels like Attack on Titan because they're flying around with their little Omni grappling hook thingamajig,
exactly,
doing all these weird things.
It's very much humanity on the brink feel, all out international war from this kind of faceless threat, of faceless, but we will get into that. What you have on your hands here is mech, military, very political, and centers around a lot of themes of the kind of ills of society. I mean, when enacted to its fullest degree. So what do we got here? We have a nation.
It's kind of an interesting scenario where you've got this republic.
Mm-hmm.
And all the people that live there are ethnically called Alba.
Yeah. All descendants of a certain Jessica is how I saw it.
I mean,
all Jessica Alba.
Yeah. Anyway, they all have like white hair and like
blue eyes.
It almost looked like silvery eyes, but that's not the point.
Sure.
But yeah, very reminiscent of a certain Reich that we all know of.
Oh yeah.
But the idea was essentially that this republic supposedly has this autonomous military that is taking out this other autonomous military called the Legion.
Yes.
In which case you do scratch your head and you're like, why is anyone fighting anything here?
Yeah, what is actually happening? Because you are fed at the beginning no casualties, this technological marvel of a strike force of this
propaganda.
Exactly. No fatalities, right? We're ethically not involved in this in any capacity, and you could sleep at night, citizens of the Republic, knowing that we are fighting a just war in the most just way. And you very quickly find out, not all true. Not all true, actually.
Well, actually, none of it's pretty
none
much
None of it's true at all.
But yeah, I mean, this show seems to be, it's kind of like, I'd say a juxtaposition of like the opulence of the, I don't know, what you would call anointed people or something like that of the Republic.
Yeah, good way to put it, yeah.
And these 86, which are a apparently ethnic group.
They're kind of like everyone who's not that, right?
Yeah.
Everyone who's not an Alba is grouped up in the face of this other autonomous threat, the Legion, from a neighboring state. They had kind of unanimously decided to split the Republic into 85 districts to house the proper people, quote unquote, and the people that were on the outside, the lesser, are the 86. And turns out the autonomous isn't exactly autonomous because they're having the 86 do all the dirty work.
Right.
Really the ones shouldering the cost of war against these other robots, which I found to be very, very a nuanced take on an enemy, right? That the enemy is painted to be this faceless thing, right? Because we kind of get this throwaway line. And this one thing I got to say before we go even deeper, this show is so fucking good about showing and not telling. This world feels very, very realized in my mind.
Yeah.
Very lived in. The exposition is beautifully paced with showing things, details on the side. One of our main characters, Elena, is kind of in school, and they say that they think that the threat that the Legion was born from, this other state, was taken out by said threat years ago. And that's a very interesting thing to just have in the world. So they're not even fighting another nation anymore. That's gone.
Yeah, it's kind of this weird like Skynet type situation where the people that created Skynet, they die off, but Skynet kind of continues on.
Yes, must protect nation. Beep boop.
Yeah, but what they're kind of, the insinuation, I mean, this is sort of spoilery type stuff anyways.
This is going to be hard to talk about without spoilers even off the rip. We'll do our best to keep it minimal, but this show, the way it's paced is so good, but you're getting drops left and right, even from the beginning. So, yeah, Spoiler City, USA.
But I do want to say, it really isn't about this conflict.
It isn't.
Like, at all.
Right.
Almost.
That's the vehicle for the themes, but it's not really the themes itself, right? I would say the true themes here are about societal prejudice and what happens when a society is kind of allowed to be duping itself into enacting a prejudice to this degree, right? Yeah. Because all the Albas seem to sleep at night. They've been indoctrinated that the autonomy of these weapons can be justified because they don't see the 86ers as humans.
Right, and I think, when you watch a show like this, you have to be, somewhat reminded of what happened during World War II.
Yeah.
And, of course, the big bad Germany at the time.
Exactly.
Of course, these guys are using them as essentially fodder for this military, whereas that wasn't really the case in Germany.
Right, yeah.
But to the same effect, really,
Mhm.
like to the extermination of the, quote unquote other in this scenario.
Right.
So I mean, this is a heavy show, and it gets progressively more heavy, like as you
Yeah.
pile drive toward episode 11, another kind of weird ending.
Yeah. We
Um,
haven't had an 11 episode season, I think, since Balance Unlimited, if
Right.
I think correctly. So it's a quick season. Like, but it won't feel quick. This show is the equivalent of a very, very dense cake almost. Like, to eat it all in one sitting is a very taxing endeavor, I found, at least.
Yeah, I mean,
This is and the themes are thick. The themes are thick, but the way they portray them are even thicker because it is so beautifully paced and written. But what they're talking about in very plain terms is, something that is kind of intrinsically baked into humanity. And I think there's a very interesting line that some guy in his cynicism says humanity wasn't ready for freedom and equality. I don't think we ever will be.
So that's the leader of the Republic forces.
Yeah. And happens to be the uncle of our main person, Lena, for most of the show. When it comes to the 86ers, they have a quote-unquote handler, kind of eyes in the sky a little bit. And Lena, who is the youngest person ever to be made into a major, aesthetically, she's got real Esdeath vibes, but she's like, if Esdeath is like a Pokemon evolution, this one, Lena is the one prior.
I think she's the baby Pokemon
she's the baby version of and Esdeath is the mega evolution.
Right.
Literally, that's what
the goddess evolution.
The goddess evolution, unlocks when you get to level 100, baby. That's what you get. But Lena is kind of this how would you describe her? She's very idealistic, right? At least at first.
Yeah. I don't know. She's pretty hard to describe. I mean, she's like, I guess, the one person that seems to have a conscience in the entire
Republic.
But also, I mean, she's been raised differently than, I guess, most of these people. Like, her father was apparently very, I guess, pro 86 and not wanting to basically proclaim them as not human and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so that kind of, obviously snuck in to her psyche and kind of formed the way that she would act the rest of her career. But it is interesting, she's a handler just like all these other people who are talking directly with these, what do they call them?
Processors?
Yeah, processors.
Yeah.
Which is a funny way of creating, this distance or this idea that these are just machines out there.
Right. And again, the show in very creative and subtle ways, like, it knows the audience watching this aren't dumb, right? There's a lot of inference going on, but these logical leaps are not leaps at all. They're literally it's very well balanced, where there's moments where someone says in the first battle she has with this company called Spearhead, which is like the best of 86ers. They will send 86ers out to do their dirty work, and if they don't die, they always kind of find their way here into this squad, right? So you have the baddest of asses in this squad. But in the first battle, after a life was lost, one of them freaked out on her and said, again, something very nuanced. Like, you can sit here and pretend like you're a saint all day and care, but I can't help but notice you never asked for our real names. You never asked for that. You don't see us as human. You like to think you do. But the thing is, she doesn't shy away from that realization. She takes it in. She's like, holy shit, you're right. That's how deep this indoctrination goes, even if I want to be idealistic and better, right? You can't run from it sometimes. It's very interesting.
But I mean, I do think it's probably, a little bit of a self-defense mechanism for these Alba.
Yeah.
You don't never want to make excuses for these people that are essentially creating, a genocide on this earth. But But, if you're not going to fight your own war and you're going to force these people to do it, the only way to really sleep well at night is to basically think of them as nothing but, soldiers,
pigs as they call them,
which is really fucked up. Of course,
pretty fucked. And I wanted to ask you.
Oh no!
Do you no?
This could not go worse.
Do you think everyone were they truly lied to and ignorant, Or did they just make peace? When they say this is autonomous, everyone kind of knows it's not. Because I'm thinking of the scene where Lena's in the classroom. She gets fucking sick of the professor, spills the real guts of the nation right there in the middle of class. And he seemingly knew all of those details. And it got me thinking, does everyone really know that this is going on and they're turning a blind eye? Or are they truly ignorant? I wonder.
So I think for sure all the military people do know.
Okay, so the professor may have a because he was a militaristic like academic essentially, right?
I would say everyone who's in that kind of field knows about it.
Yeah.
But like the kids, the like regular townspeople, regular commerce people, I do believe that they're kept in the dark completely.
Okay.
And I don't think that that's all too like far-fetched or hard to believe, because
I believe that too.
If I'm not mistaken, and I could easily be,
but
during World War II, I think a lot of like just random Germans didn't even know these like concentration camps and stuff were happening.
And I think this show speaks to those kinds of regimes and the power and the sway they hold, because
it's just like in China and North Korea, somebody could be. I actually just read a book that had, heavy North Korea themes.
Yeah.
It was a spy book, but no big deal.
No,
essentially, like, they just tell everyone, like, General Rhee, for instance, he's away on the countryside, taking a nice little break.
Went out to the farm.
And they literally have him in a labor camp, like, re-education camp, that kind of thing.
And I think that,
but like the propaganda is so strong that just like the average guy is like, oh, he deserves it. I hope he's having a nice time out there.
Yeah, and because again, it's a very interesting take on regimes of this style, that when you dupe the masses and they have a kind of cushy truth that they hold on to, that they're being told, why would you want to question something that is seemingly so great? We're winning a war with no casualties. Why would I want to, like, I guess it takes a special kind of person to be willing to accept different, because if it's a kind of a convenient lie. It's a convenient reality for them.
And I will say that is one thing I think they could have improved on the show with. Is if it would have been interesting / cooler if there was like this undertone or this underground group within the Republic that is like going out of their way to try to raise this human rights concern.
Yeah, right.
Right? Because it seems like almost it was too easy for them to just like ship all the 86 out completely. You know what I mean? Like, like we only hear kind of like some modern day renditions of what happened at the time that this war started, and like this, like, I guess the genocide started.
And what's so fascinating is because this war only started like 5 or 6 years prior to when we start the show.
Yeah.
So there are people that have been that are obviously almost everyone on the show has been alive at least at the time when all this started. One day these people were living among them in District 1, and then suddenly they're gone and everyone's cool with them being pigs.
Yeah.
Like, and not all of them are cool with it, but they just kind of accept that as reality if they're kind of a little more knowledgeable. I'm thinking of Annette, the scientist chick.
Yeah.
She had a neighbor that was...
She's the worst character in the whole thing.
She's kind of the worst.
But I think she did play like that, I guess, the foil to Milena.
Yeah.
Which is like seemingly good people can just turn into complete shitbags when faced with this, I guess, the decisions they've made in the past, or like, this propaganda is telling her this is what's happening. They forced her father to do human experimentation, stuff like that.
Yeah, dude. And
to protect yourself, like your sanity, like people make up like really weird things like, oh, these aren't humans. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So kind of buying into the truth buying into that lie.
It's much easier than
trying to fight it, right?
Well, facing what you've done or what you have, your family has done, right?
Yeah. And a lot of this... atonement is kind of an undertone here in a lot of these situations. Another good quote from that uncle guy who's leader of the Republic forces, hope and despair are both the same thing. There's something you want and you can't have it. They're just the different sides of that desire. And Annette kind of acts this out when she makes peace, you can see her when she really goes off the handle is because she recognizes there's nothing I can do. I literally can't. I can't change anything, so I just despair, and
And yet we find out that there's totally stuff she can do.
There is. That's the most fucked thing.
She was like easily the most confusing character to me because she kept Milena around for a long time and kept up this air of them being like best friends. But she would continually try to, of course, get her to not care about these guys out in the district.
Yes.
But later on, when all this stuff devolved, she essentially says, I hate you. I've always hated you, because she's idealistic and because she wants to think of these people as humans. And I think it's because, Annette felt, I guess, judged by the way that Milena was taking this, this genocide.
She wasn't backing down.
Right.
Yeah.
Or just like trying to acknowledge these people as people.
Right.
Whereas Annette had fully bought in to letting them be pigs.
And that's the kind of thing, is that Annette's working in kind of this absolute, everyone has to buy the lie
just
for
like
it
Sith.
To be reality, right?
Just like Sith.
There it is. She deals in absolutes. But Lena became, because she was breaking down the comfort the sick kind of comfort that Annette found in that lie, and being, having to resign herself, she is staring down the barrel of, she's doing what I couldn't, and that's why I hate her. So yeah, and again, shockingly nuanced character relations and development there, and like, and part of it too is I like Lena is not saying she's not a monster. She's saying that I was part of the problem. I inherently baked in. I think she may have kind of overstretched that a bit, like really self-loathed and pitied and kind of beat herself up a little bit too hard for that shit. But to that end, she's like, you're right. I got to be better. This doesn't start unless we all are better, but I have to start with me. But yeah, some of the other themes were pretty big too. I mean, everyone had this weird vicious hate for the 86, but the 86 were painted, whenever they're on screens, what they weren't fighting, they were almost always having fun. They were the most human characters that seemed to have...
Well, at the end of the day, they're pretty much all children.
Yeah, right.
Which is another kind of aspect that I think is just meant to fully endear them to the audience and be like, how can you send these kids out to fight your war for you, right?
Yeah, that's sick.
When you have all these adults... getting hammered in the whatever the HQ, the military HQ.
The Grand Mur. I think it's what it's called.
The what?
The Grand Mur is what they called that place where they're getting drunk.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I think. Yeah.
Easily missed that. But and there was there's like very interesting undertone they never like truly explored of
I figure
the saint, whatever her name was, that the original Republic was like basically built from.
Yeah, what was her name? Shit.
Saint Mercy or something like that almost.
What?
It was something like Mercy.
Mercedonia or whatever the hell.
Anyway.
Yeah.
But like, so there's this religious undertone to this whole thing, and then just like essentially not expounded upon really at all, except for the fact that they say, yeah, she founded this area, and then people out of greed killed her.
Yeah, right.
And so I think there's a lot they didn't really have time to explore. I wonder how much of this was affected by COVID and like a scheduling issue, because 11 episodes isn't super common.
Right.
But also I feel like there's a lot of threads left unpulled from this.
So I did watch the last episode. I skimmed through it because the last episode in this season is entirely a recap episode.
Yeah.
But at the end it says season 2 is coming in October. So I think what you said about COVID is probably right, because if they had that much of season 2 ready and already geared up,
yeah,
I imagine that was always going to be the plan. They just pushed everything out and just kept working. But you're right. There's a lot of threads that weren't resolved, but it wasn't in a way that was like, wait, why didn't you touch on it? It's evident that will be the crux of the next, I think. And I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah, definitely. It's just, to me, it seems like the Republic really isn't doing much. and they know, like, I'm really confused as to whether they are in denial about the fact that they're losing this war, or if we are not told specifically what's going on.
My spoilers, but here we are. I don't know how deep we are on the episode, but
we're at 25 minutes.
Yeah, you know what? Whatever. So
Spoiler City. Watch the show. I think it's pretty good.
It's an 8+ on Mal, and that's always a big hit. And you know,
it's artistically, I think, gorgeous.
It's great, and you will not be disappointed in the amount of, this is a show written for big brain folk, like really willing to sit down and stare down the themes of this show. It's not a walk in the park.
It's not the faint of heart.
It's not for the faint of
heart.
heart.
In fact, I'd say you need a big heart to be able to be empathetic for these guys.
He's back. He's back, everybody. But so what we got here is, I think, door number 2 of what you said. They're not telling us everything. I think that there was never a war. I think that there was, because there was a nexus point when everything happened, when the new leadership came in. That is when the 86 discrimination became a thing, and the Alba exaltation of the Albas was taken up, right? And I think that this Legion might actually have been this country's mistake, and they took out another country, and now Skynet's coming back to bite them in the ass, Terminator style, and they're like, shit, how do we paint this like we aren't the assholes? How do we do this? Oh, wait, it's a warring state's military might.
Yeah,
right?
That certainly could have a play in season 2, because it does seem interesting that these machines, these Legion machines, they have this weird thing where they can steal people's brains and essentially envelop them into Skynet.
Yeah, literally, that is how these things are so advanced. They will make copies of human brains at the very last moments of life, and then they will use that to kind of act as the central nervous system for the Legion thing. So
I mean, there's really a lot to talk about here, because I thought something that was interesting was this Legion was evolving. There would be new type of mechs you'd see all the time, just randomly show up, or new ultra long range artillery, blasts.
Yeah.
But this place doesn't exist anymore. It's just,
so who's firing this shit?
Who's making these things?
Yeah.
Right? All of the Legion are nice, sparkly, really well built.
Yeah, right.
And then these juggernauts that the Republic is using are just these little garbage heap.
Ass. They're absolute trash.
So, I think a lot of people in the future of our world would love to be able to make a factory that continues to make things automatically, right?
Sure, yeah.
An autonomous factory that autonomously makes new things.
Yeah.
But the problem with that is, and I do hope this is all addressed in season 2.
Yeah.
And this is just a pure engineering,
here we go. Yep. Okay.
But where's the raw materials coming from? You can't, in order to feed a factory, you need a lot of incoming raw materials.
And if this kingdom is gone now,
who's doing
that? Right. Is it really,
is it all closed? Do they make miner bots?
Is it all a closed loop?
Yeah.
But what I think is happening, because this show is going to there's a big mystery element, I think, that, it isn't the theme, but it's in your face. This mystery element, where the fuck is the Legion coming from? What is actually going on here? And the only thing I thought the entire show was, this is a little too convenient in every aspect. Think about it. You have a army of quote-unquote autonomous machines as your enemy that just so happens to need to evolve by taking on human brains, either copies or originals, and we suddenly seem to have a large swath of the population that they're sending in as this autonomous attack force, feeding these robots. It all just feels a little too convenient, right?
I agree. There was something that did feel very convenient about this whole show.
Yeah.
I don't know if it takes away from it or if it just adds to the mystery, because even to this point, 11 episodes in, I don't know what the deal is with it.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm most confused about is there only this one nation left?
Right.
like the maps we see, it'll be like all the districts, and then it'll just be like unknown
just
all the way around. This big like blob.
So again, I don't think it's necessarily unknown. I think what's happened, it seems again all a little too controlled, right? And if you look at the timeline, right around when the war started is also when that new leadership came over and did the whole Alba's our best thing. It all seemed to like really add up to be this mechanism for, ill-willed progression for the might of this republic, right? They have the machines, they have the means by which to evolve, which is completely inhumane, but also a group of people they've convinced the entire population are not even real humans. It all seems very well planned, this war, to be a thing. So my theory...
Yeah, but why would you make something with the sole intention of it being able to evolve to take you out?
Because I don't think it's actually trying to take out the Republic. I think they're trying to bolster up their own technology, and they're sending in. They basically.
So you think Albas control both sides?
Yes.
And that their only goal is to eradicate the 86?
I think it's to better their militaristic might through the usage of because think about it. Hey, we just built new technology, but it needs human brains to really kind of pop off, guys. Do you think we'd be kind of cool with doing that? Fuck no. But what if we have unevolved pigmen go out and fight, them for us? And we, they're not really humans anyway. And everyone's like, well, if you put it that way, so let's go fucking do it. Do we have any kind of people lying around like that? No, guys, hold my beer. 85 districts, here's the 86, blah, blah, blah. They're like, wow, that was so convenient. Let's go get shit-faced in the Grand Mur. It all seems so perfect, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Tinfoil hat off.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I think that could be an interesting...
Again, we don't know. This is just me guessing, but...
What I was thinking was going to happen, there was this one point where the final 5 go off into the abyss on their final mission, right?
Yeah.
And they run into all these old cities that used to exist, like they call it like the first
old imperial
whatever
territory.
Yeah. So it's like essentially full cities that just people evacuated.
Yeah.
Like they're not even really that blown up. Like it's kind of a weird eerie feeling.
They were enough intact where they were looking at stores and stuff that were just had the windows broken out and that's it. Weird.
Which
it's not war torn.
Very, very interesting.
Yeah.
And there was this one tunnel.
Yeah, what was up with the tunnel?
That Shin kept looking in the tunnel, but never like dealt with it really.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell if that's what then led to that one part where that random legion called out to him to come like kill it.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell if that was part of that whole scenario.
I think that was the entire scenario.
But what I wanted it to be,
okay,
she was mentioning like a subway station or something like that. I wanted it to be connected to the actual imperial capital, the current one.
Yeah.
Like subway station.
Ooh.
And that they were like going to sneak in and just start fucking shit up.
Oh,
that's what I was thinking was going to happen. Because it was just weird. Like, they were talking about Milena wanting to essentially help them.
Yeah.
They were talking about, well, we're free now. We can do whatever we want, sort of.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this would be very interesting if they somehow find a tunnel that leads all the way there.
Yeah.
Because it was like a massive, massive tunnel.
It was huge. And
I'm
it
like,
definitely was for transport of something, right?
That'd be kind of interesting.
That'd be dope. And if you heard us say, like, oh, Shin heard that random legion, it's important to note that...
Oh, yeah, he can hear them all.
He can hear them. And so there's some element of supernatural here for sure. Shin, and we find out later, I think his brother, could kind of operate with some limited sense of telepathy where they could kind of talk to each other without having to say anything. And I think he can read minds kind of, but he never can like switch it off. Kind of a Professor X situation where, if he doesn't use his powers to quiet the noise, it'll kind of always be there.
Yeah, so that was the basis of this system called Para-Raid.
Para-Raid. Which
allows essentially these Albas to be able to directly communicate with an entire, what would you call that? Battalion, I guess, of 86 out on the battlefield. You can essentially take over their hearing, take over their sight and stuff like that to be able to correctly be a general for the battlefield, essentially, from all the way back in the capital, in the safety of the capital.
Yeah, again, kind of adding to that, a distance between the Albas and the 86 actually doing the fighting, but they have this technology which was actually based on, I think, because Annette's and her family were next door neighbors to Shin back in the day.
So
because I thought it was that he wanted that he saw that ability and it intrigued her father, which gave rise to the emergent technology for Pararaid.
Yeah, but it wasn't Shin's family; it was some other family.
I
literally just watched it
me too.
An hour ago.
That's how Lena got Annette to fire off the mortars because she tricked him.
No. So she knew that Shin had to be the one that lived next to her.
Yes.
But that did not have to do with the telepathy of the 86. The guy was saying the guy was a doctor, her dad, Annette's dad was a doctor, found this mother and children that could essentially talk through telepathy.
Yeah.
Did experiments or whatever on them, like really basic ones. I don't think they were like crazy or anything.
No, they were more like toys at that point. Yeah.
And then the government came to them and said, you need to develop this no matter what.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it wasn't Shin because they said through the human experimentation, all those people died. So it wouldn't have made sense.
Oh, so is the implication there that other people may also have this gift?
The implication apparently is that some 86 or a lot of them can, for some reason,
hear this. Yeah.
They can talk to each other telepathically. And so I think this, for some reason, seems to be like Shin has the ability to telepathically speak to the Legion who have consumed some 86.
Yes, because it's an actual human mind.
Right.
Yeah. And he called them black sheep. So the black sheep are the actual, like, the mindful ones. Where
I thought you were calling them shepherds.
The shepherds are the ones that have not copies of brains in the final moments, but an actual brain. Like, that's why, because remember there was a throwaway line of most 86ers heads are badly damaged, so they can't really get a full thing.
Sure. So that's the Echo shit.
Yeah, so they can only really get it in their final moments, but if they had, that's why they're always itching to get a pretty decent USDA choice cut head, that's a shepherd. And that, because they have all the computational processing power that they need. So what that made for kind of one of the bigger twists, I think, because that was really interesting. Like, why would
I will say, back to the convenience point.
Sure.
So fucking convenient that all these people have met Shin or one of his relatives in the past.
Yes, that web was very strange.
Like, way too convenient.
Yeah, because remember, it's like, hey, like, his last name was Nozen, and it's like, do you know this other guy's name? Oh, that just happens to be my brother and the guy I've been looking for the last 5 years.
Like, what?
Like that.
And then
like,
it just so happens to be Annette's old next door neighbor. What
neighbor.
the? I was starting to find it pretty hard to believe that all this was like.
Yeah, okay. A bit contrived,
right.
Mr. Chekhov's gun. You said.
Okay.
Yeah, because I saw that telegraphed a mile away. Right? That we all saw that one coming. But the idea that, I guess Shin must have had a special case of this telepathy because he could hear them coming before anyone else could. So maybe he's just a little more sensitive to it. But the one thing I was waiting for the bomb to drop was because every single handler that interacts with Spearhead, aka Shin and the gang, either Undertaker is his kind of code name. One guy killed himself after that. And I was like, why? Until we kind of found out because she's linking into his mind and he can hear basically the screams of pain of all these individuals in their final moments all the time.
Right, like this death rattle.
Yes, maddening, 24/7, never gets to stop. And now I'm like, oh, yeah, that could do it. That can 100% do it.
Yeah, and so that was definitely a very interesting aspect of the show, though, that, Shin is carrying essentially the torch for all these people because he has these, like, essentially special abilities allow him to survive a lot of these situations because he can essentially has some level of foresight. because they're literally like all chatting, like all these little bots
Yeah.
are chatting to each other, and he can kind of tap in and figure out like we should hide now so they'll walk past us, or I should jump to the left because he's about to shoot to the right, like all that kind of stuff. And it's just, so his call sign Undertaker basically goes back to the fact that, as this captain who is surviving beyond all other people, he's the one carrying the torch for all these 86. And anytime that there's like somebody that's about to die on the battlefield or has died, he will carry some record of them on with them.
And he will also make sure that the Legion can't get them.
Like, to the best of his ability.
Right. So in a lot of moments, you'll see that he is the one. They also called him the Reaper, the Shinigami, because he will put a bullet in their heads. So yeah, he'll put a bullet in their heads to make sure they're basically, damaged goods for the Legion, that they can't be got, and they won't get got because he got. So, like,
I did find it kind of weird that this group of 86 are being outfitted with military grade weaponry.
Yeah.
And then they're just like, yeah, I guess we'll go fight. Like, couldn't you just like say, fuck these guys, turn around and go attack the Republic?
Yeah. I was just thinking, the whole time I was thinking, like, it doesn't seem like the Republic has a lot of foot soldiers or protection for them in the capital. Why don't they just, like,
turn around?
Deuces? Either just leave or go right back around. Like, so what you're telling me is you persecute us to an insane degree and then put us in mechs that you guys don't have? Bad mood, Chief.
Because it seems like what I think would be a very cool aspect to the story would have been, and don't get me wrong, I did really enjoy it, and I thought it was very, very deep.
Right.
But I think to extend this beyond where it's at, what I think would have been cool is if when those last 5 survivors were sent on their final recon mission, they essentially just leave with all the shit that they had, right?
Yeah.
And go like form this other 86 nation.
Yeah, pack it up and they go as far as they can go.
Well, they don't have to do that. What I'm saying is they should just go into the unknown region, create their own 86 nation, and then the next group that is sent on this suicide mission, they'll just, when they get to them, start building up this army of their own people, like the survivors of the survivors.
That's actually kind of brilliant.
It'd be cool. I think it'd be really cool because then you'd end up with like, 20 or 25 of like the top of the top. Yes.
And I would have liked to have, maybe that'd be a nice twist to have seen maybe at the end of this season.
Or they run into another nation.
Boom. Yeah, they run it. This has already been going on. Because, again, that's the unknown region. The second they're outside, it's just, boo, they go dark.
Yeah.
So, basically, that would be a brilliant move, and then they could basically get their revenge.
It would be like Attack on Titan, right? Where there's this other world, essentially, or other country.
You're when you said reductive, you're right, because I was getting also kind of a decadence vibe here too, because the whole game thing.
It still might be decadence.
Yeah,
really.
Right. But yeah, it's I found
because it's so convenient. You have to think that there's something else. Like there's somebody pulling the fucking strings.
Yes, it seems the timing, everything is too perfect. The weird, almost too uncanny symbiotic relationship between the expendables that are the 86s and the Legion that seem to need brains. So,
and then the 86s just being like down to, I guess, die to the Legion.
Yeah, that's
it's
so
just
weird.
Very confusing. And then, like, why is there no self-destruct feature in these juggernauts so that you're not feeding these fucking Legion all these additional powers?
Right.
Just very, very like...
Is every single 86 forced to fight, or is this because... There's that another throwaway line is like that's how they kind of con you in 5 years and you're good and you can get citizenship, which never actually happens. But I don't know, man. Like,
well, because remember the lieutenant, whatever, who was their like quartermaster.
Yeah.
Taking care of their juggernauts at the little like forward operating base.
Yeah.
His wife and daughter were both conscripted and they already got killed in battle.
Yeah.
So like you'd imagine an older lady shouldn't be in battle, and then like a young kid shouldn't be in battle.
So I mean, and it's this view of the other side of from the 86's perspective, because one, this show does an incredible job of really detailing and not shying away from, the real cost of war. I mean, and the other part of it is the most human things seem to come from the 86, and it's this brilliant juxtaposition between how they're painted by the Albas versus their actions. Like, the mercy that Shin is kind of giving these 576 individuals, which he counts and never forgets. Very Tsukasa from
I was
Dr.
gonna
Stone,
say
right?
Tsukasa-esque.
Yeah, but he does them a mercy by allowing them to die and not having to, live out their days as this kind of mech mind. And that's a very human thing, a very hard thing to do, but the irony of those painted as not humans seeing each other and behaving in such a way that is very human. And the show does a very good job of that. And how powerful indoctrination by society can be. Being told that and being comfy with the idea that, you know what? Yeah, they are pigs. Sure, why not? I get to sleep at night. I get to get drunk. That's cool. But, you often don't get to see the afflicted that way on the other side.
I need a little bit more information from the show about, like, is it convenient because there's like this subplot?
Yeah.
Or are they just trying to basically fool themselves enough to where when they get wiped out by the Legion, it's just like, oops.
Right. Might be.
You know what I mean? Like,
I do, yeah.
Is it like their goal is to just live it up until they get exterminated? Because that could be part of it too.
Yeah,
but it seems anti-human to a large degree because
isn't it though?
Like, you would really want to survive.
Yeah, and to that end, again, talking about the convenience of this plot, isn't it a little convenient that they're set to only run for 6 years? And in 2 years the Legion just stops? How the fuck would they know that? How would that detail have ever been, like, they're not just aware of this detail, they're banking on it. They're like, why are you taking this so seriously? It's only gonna be 2 more years and we're good. Like, how the fuck do you know that?
It seemed like they were saying that they didn't have like the fuel left to go on past the 2 years.
No, they specifically said they were programmed to protect that country for 6 years. And we are year 4 into this war. So we're ready. We have just 2 more years to fight it out and they will shut off.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a fuel thing, I don't know, but it seems a little bit weird that they know this for a certainty. How?
I mean, I guess if we were at war with somebody that had an autonomous army,
they're not going to advertise expiration date.
I guarantee you we'd have our CIA assets on the ground figuring this shit out, right?
I guess that's fair. But yeah, and I guess that's probably there seems to be a real lack of urgency here on their part, just kind of let the 86ers do it and ride it out. But there's that.
It did seem like a lack of intelligence completely, though, because they didn't know about these ultra long range artillery guys that coming in.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know any of these new like types of.
They didn't know what shepherds were.
Yeah, like what the hell is this shit?
Yeah,
it literally feels like a simulation where they're just trying to like slaughter the 86 as fast as possible.
Again, yeah. And then they walk away with this battle-tested technology that they can now kind of subjugate anyone else around them, because that seems to be the Alba's thing, is just this, we're the best, subjugate everything else. So, but
they're losing so bad.
They are losing so bad.
I don't know. I guess I can't wait for season 2 just to get some answers as to like.
Me too.
What's the point of the show?
Because why isn't Legion at the doorsteps of the Capitol by now?
That they have so many.
Yeah.
Like, think about the Matrix.
Yeah.
At some point, there were so many of those little octopus fuckers that they just like go to Zion and they bust through the wall and then they just start pouring into Zion.
Yeah.
You know?
Where is that happening here?
Like, why isn't that happening?
That should be happening here. Again, a little convenient that it's not, right? So the show definitely puts some stuff up in this big kind of web of.
Also, the artillery strike that they used, only 50% of the shells even exploded.
Yeah, didn't they say
it was 48%?
48% were not duds.
Yeah.
What
army is this? Also, Mileza, or whatever her name is, Milena Milzy.
Yeah. Military
was in the skankiest officer uniform I've ever seen. Like, is this a complete sham?
Yeah. It's definitely because, well, that's the thing. It's skimpy because she didn't actually have to go do shit. She just sat in a chair and played her game, essentially.
Like, I guess, but like, Jesus was a skanky.
And what's weird is, you know who her commanding officer was? Her uncle.
They weren't actually related.
Okay.
It was his dad's best friend.
Oh, so they called. Okay, that kind of.
Yeah.
Still,
Uncle, wink.
Wink. Yep. But yeah, you could definitely. I'm pretty sure he was the one who signed off on that shit. Like, yeah, this is her uniform because we never see anyone else in that uniform.
Then again, we didn't see any other female majors.
And that. Fuck the Albas. Yeah, promote women up through military.
I guess.
Hashtag do it for the military.
That's definitely the worst thing that happened in this show.
Yeah, I know. But again, all the characters, I fell in love with most of the characters. I really felt for, like, when I lost a member of the 86, when I lost a member of Spearhead, I actually felt that.
Yeah, I think what was really good about this show is they did a good job of working with only really a few characters, if you think about it.
They didn't overextend themselves, but the ones that were in play did their role perfectly, I think. Either representing kind of the mindset of the country and military at large, representing maybe more of the grassroots, psychological ramifications of this outing of friends and family and neighbors, just in the country, and the people doing the real work being humanized to the nth degree.
Yeah, woke Twitter, you know what I mean? Coming after people.
Yeah, right.
No, but I did like essentially the 86, of course, were the main characters and like really the interesting part of the show.
Yeah, right.
But it was kind of interesting to see this group of children that were out on this battlefield, essentially having like the older kids take over the roles of like the most adult. And then, when they would lose somebody, like you would feel it even as like an audience member, like watching the show.
Angie, like when she lost
Anju,
when she lost Daya. That hit me actually pretty hard, man, because like.
But like, so I was thinking the whole time, why don't they just like bang and get it over with? Or like, why don't they just like, you know what I mean? Because it's like they're clearly into each other.
Those two?
Yeah.
Well, I think it was kind of a will they, won't they. He was just a little too forward, and she just wasn't having it.
Then they're talking about they know from the start that they're on this suicide mission.
Yes.
And so then the point is like, it's more terror to themselves if they do make this blossoming relationship a thing, right?
Exactly.
Like, it's much worse if you do actually date, you do like get married, you do have kids, and then you lose your wife, right?
Yeah,
or lose your husband.
Exactly.
Than it would be if it's like will they, won't they, like love interest.
It's more, we know they want to, but they're so kind of forcibly matured to understand that. Is it really worth it?
Well, yeah, but they all know that they're dead.
Yeah.
Like they were dead on arrival to Spearhead, right?
Yeah,
like
right.
This unit is literally built, and this is the big crux, I think, of the show, or like the big kind of, I guess, moment of like realization, like, oh shit.
Yeah.
When they're like, so they do a good job of having characters in the 86 talk to each other without what's her name? Lena being able to hear.
Yeah.
Saying like, we're torturing her. We need to tell her, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And they're all like different groups saying this.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they finally spill the beans, it's like, oh shit, this group is literally made to go into the most dangerous areas just so that they all die.
Yeah, because I remember that realization for me came in the form of, wow, these are the best of the best. Oh wait, it's not because the squad is an elite squad. It's literally, fuck, we can't kill you. This is where we make that happen.
Yeah.
Right? So what that line that I think that Shin said, where everyone, it's typical to be only about a year. Like, everyone dies within the year. If you can't die within a year, you get sent out on one particular type of mission. If they still can't kill you out there, they send you here. And that's 100% success rate.
Yeah.
Because they just go on a special recon mission and they just go, and that's it. Out to the farm.
Yeah, and I will say it did seem like very, very fast progression from like 10 members of this group down to like 5.
Yeah.
It was like literally 2 episodes, and I'm like,
I think they started with 16.
It did feel like very quick, and like I felt like the weight of that was very evident through the show.
Yes, it was. And as it got whittled down, you can kind of feel this creeping of hopelessness for them, like on the recon mission when, they're down to one juggernaut. And
what the fuck were they smoking? Going out there with rifles against these like these artillery machines. It was so weird.
Yeah. So at the very end, I don't know.
But why throw yourself into that? It made no sense to me. Why would you just throw yourself into this battle? Like
the last one where Shin was kind of
him, and then the four of them, they could have just left. Like they had free reign of whatever they wanted to do.
And I think that was kind of the theme for Shin's arc of having to shoulder everything on his back. And in the end of the day, it was always a hopeless situation. Like, we're gonna die anyway. Might as well do it with each other, in my mind.
Right, but they also had the ability to dodge all of these Legion.
Yeah, right.
Because of Shin's ability.
Yeah.
They could have all lived together. Like, you know what I mean? They could have been a family by themselves. They knew how to fish, like, with freaking branches and, like, rope.
Right. Yeah.
They were in towns or cities that, like, still had shit in them.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It just seemed like almost too nihilistic for a group that has been so good at surviving.
And this show just has that air of nihilism, and I think it leans a little bit too hard on that sometimes. Like
I think so.
Yeah, right. It leaned that way when, there could have been hope, right? There didn't. I don't think it had to, because Shin's logic was, we can't dodge them. We have to fight, so I'm trying to protect you guys.
But that was just that one instance. Like, they could have just went the other direction.
Yeah, it's not like because they kept saying over and over, we don't have a timeline, we don't have a destination, we're just going to keep going and try to survive. Why wouldn't you try to, like you said, go the other way? Go the other way.
It was very, I would say that was the only, like, negative for me about the ending. It was just like, why do that?
Uh-huh.
And I needed just, like, maybe one throwaway line that explained, because they tried to say, well, we want to die on our own terms. It's like, why do you have to die at all?
Yeah, right.
It just seemed like they were doing okay.
Yeah, they're whittling resources, sure, but I mean, they seemed survivalist enough to make it work. I don't. You're right. I don't know. I'm kind of more where I'm excited for this to go is Lena kind of really starting to do the legwork to figure out what's going on. Where did they go? Am I getting the full truth? Because I think she realizes that.
I also thought her dumbass was going to go out, like, fly out there.
Oh,
and, like, go with them is what I thought was going to happen.
Oh, interesting. Okay. No.
But now, like,
what is she going to do? She doesn't have a juggernaut.
Well, they just flew in new juggernaut. She could just take one and
she should just finally get out there and go do it. In my mind, is she just a traitor to the country now?
No. She was there.
She was under house arrest, technically.
Yeah, house arrest. But
for illegally firing off mortars.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy slap on the wrist. It's good to have an uncle at the top.
Yeah. But she was like, so I have time to come visit, like, District 1 outpost and, like, see my next group of Spearhead.
Yeah.
And so she's like, she was flying back with the cat. That was, like, the ending.
Too little, too late, bitch. Like, come on. You should have gone out there earlier. You should have gone out and seen.
It just seemed like, why didn't she do that? She was, like, spending so much time talking on the raid system with them. She was, like, trying her best to, like, be a real person with them, like, to a certain degree.
Yeah.
It's like, you have to be able to fly out there if you wanted to.
Yeah, exactly.
It just, I don't know.
So
this was a great show, and then there was just some things that, like, bugged me about it enough to where I'm like, I have some inner turmoil about it.
It really does paint a bleak picture. We've watched a lot of shows in the past that do not paint humanity in a very positive light.
Yeah.
And this is kind of one of those shows, but it's a pretty heavy-handed kind of situation we got going on here.
100%.
Like, it's, the worst of humanity has to offer and seemingly the best caught in the worst situation, right? But again, some things feel a little too convenient, which Season 2, I think, will no doubt clear this up. The writing and pacing were so good that I wasn't necessarily bothered by much of that. But again, some details that were pretty pivotal, pretty nihilistic, walked away, pretty sad boy summer energy. Doesn't mean the show was not worth watching. I would very much like to watch that season 2.
Yeah, and just a couple more thoughts. I
think you got?
Like the show, like you said, very sad boy summer, but I felt like every scene in the Republic was like almost unnecessary because like nothing was being done in the Republic to begin with. It's just her like being told, well, there's nothing we can do about it by everybody, right?
Yeah, right.
And that's supposed to be a good enough excuse. And you know, to be honest, I see that in like corporate America at your job sometimes, right? It's just like there's this obvious problem that I know about and maybe a lot of us know about, but they're like, well, nothing we can do.
Sorry, my hands are tied.
Like,
I'm like, no.
That is a bad answer.
Yeah, you are the ones doing the hand tying.
Yeah,
like,
we also know that there's a problem, so like, what the fuck?
Oh, it's just, this is just the way things are, sorry. Like,
yeah, this is how we've always done things. So, I mean, I do think that this show, while being reductive in a lot of, I guess, tropes and even sort of visually, frankly, it has done a really good job of highlighting, I think, very real human emotions and like real human experiences that exist even for like people like us.
Yeah, from the framing to cinematography, every detail of this.
No ecchi, really.
No ecchi at all. And ecchi,
great.
Yes. And it's they came to talk big topics, and I think what they had to say was said well. They didn't try to overextend themselves. They put the effort into polish.
Yeah.
And, really cultivating, kind of some semblance of humanity and where it can shine in a sea of where it could be at its darkest. And this dichotomy of, a society that shuns an entire group of people, whereas those people show what the best humanity has to offer. I always kind of like settings like that, and of those shows that try to paint that picture, this one could be one of the better ones to do that. So, in my head.
But like Shin at the end, like dies, and
he does die.
His head is captured.
So he is now going to presumably be a shepherd.
But what I don't get is he knows he's about to die. Why would you not shoot yourself in the head knowing what's going to happen?
Yeah, I think he had talked about it. Or no, not talked about it. Sorry, thought about it.
Well, because he says, whose name am I going to call?
Yeah, right.
Which is creepy as hell.
Yeah, and just knowing that as a fate is probably one that's worse than death. Because we saw his brother.
So I don't understand. Like, why would you not kill yourself in your stupid cockpit when you get jacked up?
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
And then there was this other piece of symbolism that I figured we should talk about.
Yep.
So at the end of every OP, I believe it was, this flower would continually show up.
Yep.
It's the Higenbana, the red spider lily.
Yes.
Now this flower is in a lot of different shows that deal with these concepts of death.
Most notably in Promised Neverland.
Yeah.
Actually.
And then as well as like Tokyo Ghoul and stuff like that as well. But supposedly it's a flower associated with final goodbyes.
Mm-hmm.
And then the legend has it, these flowers grow wherever people part ways for good.
Wow.
In old Buddhist writings, the red spider lily is said to guide the dead through samsara, the cycle of rebirth. Red spider lilies are often used for funerals, but they are also used decoratively.
Okay.
So, I don't know,
y'all thought you were going to learn nothing today? Really?
It just seems like every time that there's a show where they get like super aggressive about some type of foliage or flower.
Some kind of flora.
Yeah, there's got to be some like deeper meaning to it, and I think Japan, of course, with their obsession with kami and stuff like that, of all of these things.
Yeah, right.
There's a lot of symbolism in like Japanese culture for things like that,
for
and
flowers,
so
and I think what was her name, Kea, that her insignia was the cherry blossom because of its finality. Like they all bloom at the same time and they all fall at the same time, and she liked that sentiment.
Huh.
So she said that's my symbol is the cherry blossom. But yeah, the symbolism in this show is great. They do such a good job like fleshing out a backstory with not a lot said.
Yeah,
honestly, like the efficiency here of lore making was superb. It was great that you could like people taking certain actions. You're like, oh, that makes complete sense why they would do that. And it gives us some insights on these characters without having to be like, hey, this is Theo. He's from this and he did this in his past, and cutscene, foggy memory. Like, it's not that.
Vignette on a memory. A sepia memory.
Yeah, wobble, flashback. It wasn't that. It was very subtle. You know, he would say some stuff about his old commander in passing, and one knitted together. It was very natural, but a very fleshed out story for that character. So goes the rest, right? And I almost noticed that not many, if any at all, except one, of the Alba's backstories were fleshed out. And I kind of like that they did all the work of fleshing out the backstories of the quote-unquote non-human pigs.
Yeah, I mean, who gives a shit about the Alba, frankly?
Who gives a shit about the Alba?
It does feel, I would say if you guys are looking for like a comparison, I would say Attack on Titan is probably the closest, just because it feels very like humanity on the brink of destruction. Whether that's the case or not, we're really not sure at this point, but it does feel like they're losing the battle and it's close approaching.
It's an uphill battle for sure, right. That's being fought with.
Which, like, the whole first 4 seasons of Attack on Titan felt very much in that vein.
Exactly.
Or 3 seasons, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So we got to do it to them, and at least for me, the score is baked into the title, baby. It's a fucking 86.
Wow.
It's an 86 out of 100. 86ers, baby. We're
they
going
should have
full
named
throttle.
it the Hundreders.
Should have named it the Hundreders. They wanted to go for gold.
It just seems like they were okay with a B.
Yeah, you know what? I don't like half measures. I don't like half assers.
Yeah.
Call it the unders next time. The 100s. That's it.
I will go with an 82.
Okay. What dropped it into the lower 80s for you? That, you know, because I couldn't give it a 90.
Like an essential full lack of information about anything, frankly.
Right.
Like, this to me is almost like a thought piece, or like a glimpse at one unit that we know is going to get decimated.
Yeah.
And like, really, at the beginning of the show and the end of the show, nothing has happened, if you really think about it.
Right. We have character development in Lena, and here's to hoping that season 2 is her doing the due diligence to uncover this mystery.
But like, as of now, nothing has changed between the beginning of the show and now, because all the characters we spent all of our time with are dead.
Yeah, right.
Except for Lena.
Yeah.
But she's in a much worse position than she was. Now she's on house arrest. She doesn't have Science Bitch as her friend.
And she's on the precipice of
her uncle is pissed. Like, she's not in a really good spot.
Right, and she's on the precipice of
and she's just got a new cat.
And she just got a new fucking cat. She's got so much on her plate now. Unraveling the mysteries in the underbelly of the Republic.
She just like stops being a handler. Dude. She stops being a handler just to like pet her cat.
Yep. That's it. Yeah, I gave it an 86. The world, I'm a big fan of worlds that feel lived in, that, you know, it's not information that I don't get about the world. It's, you
specifically like worlds that are vampires?
Yes.
A world is a vampire.
I like the worlds that feel like they existed long before I showed up and will long after I'd leave. And this one felt like that. The information that I got was very targeted, very well paced, very well written, and I'm excited for season 2. I think I'm going to get the answers I want. But if I don't, you can kiss that 86 score goodbye. Kiss it goodbye. But yeah, thank you, everyone, for coming to class. Sorry, I got a little heated there for a hot minute.
I mean, for 11 episodes, for it to be able to have enough depth for us to carry on an hour and 8 minutes or hour and 10 minutes.
It's pretty meaty,
and like, dude. Frankly, I think we could probably talk for another 20 minutes about it.
We probably could.
I'd say it's absolutely worth the watch. You know, you may not give it an 86 because there are problems for sure with the show.
Yeah.
And if you like completion like I do, like, there is some things that just make you kind of, you know, struggle with it.
Yeah. If you can make peace, you're not going to get all the pieces.
Yeah, you're not going to get all the answers.
But this show it's clear they set up something really unique here.
We've got a lot of questions at the minimum.
Yeah, right. They set up something with a lot of polish. It is reductive, but it's unique in the way that it feels focused, feels tight. It set out to do a thing and tell a certain story, and I think it did in spades. So it's all good.
Agreed.
Yep. So thanks, y'all, for coming to class. Hello, YouTube gang. I'm actually going to do the videos this week. It's all good. But yeah, all the links in the description to everything with our Patreon and all that. You know, $1 and up gets you into the Discord. $3 up gets you to the syllabus sidebar. Our lo-fi high vibes anime or sometimes non-anime content. You know, sometimes visual, sometimes other stuff. It's a train wreck of a pitch. I'll get it back next week. It's fine.
Yikes.
It's fine. But yeah, it's very loose form. Come over to syllabus sidebar. You know, it can't all be winter pitches.
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna run it back. I
wouldn't.
No, I just want to go home and watch more anime because I haven't caught up on any of the seasonals this week.
Oh, I'm all up on it. I even added a few extras.
Ooh, okay.
You know those like YouTube channels that show you just like cool fight scenes and shit from anime?
Absolutely.
Like random anime?
Yeah.
Well, there was this one it's called Sarate Genko or something like that.
Okay.
It's your average like isekai comes in and is some ridiculous swords fighter. It's more like my type, not your type. You know, where there's just like a garbage show.
Well, you said isekai, and that's
yeah,
debatable.
but you didn't like A Wise Man's Grandchild
because it was trash.
But that's what I'm saying. It is a trash show. But I do have to vent my frustrations slightly.
Oh.
If I have to watch one more fucking show with a little girl, Fox Girl, I'm going to lose it. Like, How I Rebuilt the Kingdom has one. This show has one. Like, fucking, Raccoon Bitch from Shield Hero.
Shield Hero.
Like,
don't you fuck up. Raftalia,
I'm just getting really, really tired of that.
Oh, my God.
Like, why is everything got to be Beast people that, of course, like, for some reason, the main character either wants them to be their little sister or wants to bang them. It's just like...
Ethan's mental state is on ever-thinning ice with each passing fox slowly.
It's so annoying.
He's one more step off the edge.
If I see one more set of ears go... I'm gonna lose it.
Oh my God! Until Ethan finally snaps from reality, I'm Ricky,
and I'm Ethan,
and this has been Weebology. Deuces.
Bye.
That was terrible. I saw the look in your eye, dude. You're about to go red.
I'm losing it.
I'm about to go ballistic.